What's up, Formula One fans? Welcome to the Lavesh Show. If you're new here, you're going to want to subscribe to the channel for the latest F1 news. Today's episode is solely dedicated to my predictions on which drivers are moving to which teams after the 2024 season ends. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my predictions or not. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what I think the teams may look like before we get into why I think so. Now, Red Bull already has Max Verstappen confirmed up until 2028, and I think that Carlos Sainz might join him at the Austrian outfit. McLaren has Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri signed up until 2026, so that's going to stick with that. Aston Martin has already confirmed that Fernando Alonso will be joining them up until 2026, and I think Lance Stroll is going to stick at his father's team. Mercedes has George Russell confirmed on the team, and I think that they might bring in their reserve driver Mick Schumacher. Haas, on the other hand, is probably going to switch up their entire team after Hulkenberg has left. I think they're going to pull in rookie Ollie Behrman and Daniel Ricciardo. Jake Sauber is most likely going to stick with Zhou Guan Yu coming into the team and Nico Hulkenberg, who was confirmed as being signed. Okay, Alpine. I think Alpine is going to get or are going to keep Esteban Ocon, and they might get rookie driver Jack Doohan, who is their reserve, to come in. Now, Ferrari has already their two confirmed drivers, who are Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who is moving from Mercedes to the red outfit. VCARB is most likely going to keep Yuki Tsunoda, and I think that they are going to get in Liam Lawson. Then we move over to our final team, which is Williams, and I think that they are going to be keeping Alex Albon, and they are going to get in Kimi Antonelli. Before we get into further details, let's first cover the drivers whose places are already secured, before we get into the potentially shocking signings that may occur and the wild statement that Max may leave Red Bull at the end of the season. I don't know about you, but I'm still shocked that Ferrari dropped Sainz for Hammy, so that's our first confirmation right there. Hamilton will be driving for Ferrari. Hammy will be joining current Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc, whose contract is confirmed up until, only Ferrari knows that. The next team with a fully confirmed team is McLaren. Well, I say confirmed, but after the Hamilton shocker, anything is possible. McLaren has Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri confirmed up until 2026, but the full details of the Lando contract is still not fully known. After a long-term deal was signed during January this year, it is expected that Norris will be at the team for quite a number of years to come. I personally think that he might make a surprise move as well after 2026, but let's see what happens. Let's move up to the reigning Constructors' Champions now. Red Bull has Max Verstappen signed in until 2028, but this may not be the case if another team makes him a sizable offer that he cannot refuse. Again, after the Hamilton shocker, who knows? Verstappen might do the same thing. And I mean, with rumors circulating this past week that Adrian Newey, team chief technical officer, may leave the Austrian team, and with the implementation of the Ford-powered Red Bull powertrains engine from 2026, we are yet to see what Max may do after this year. It is predicted that a mass exodus may hit the team if Adrian Newey does leave. Next up, we have George Russell, who is set to remain with Mercedes up until 2025, unless the powers that be decide to extend his contract. I suspect that this may be the case, as Russell has been doing fairly decent in terms of current Mercedes standards. With Hamilton leaving to Ferrari and with the team's current performance, these standards aren't very high to begin with. Don't quote me on that. Our last team with two confirmed drivers, or should I say with sort of two confirmed drivers, are Aston Martin. Now we know for a fact that Alonso is confirmed up until 2026 and will remain with the team even after his contract expires. This is because of a sort of unending contract with the team which he signed last week, or the week prior to. Lance Stroll is on the fence as to whether he still has a contract or not. Well, technically we are the ones on the fence about that. Stroll's contract is a mystery, as details of this contract have not been released to the public. I mean, why would you release such details if your father owns the team you race for? I predict that Lawrence Stroll will not fire his son, but I mean, with his current performance, which is just short of horrifying, I don't know if it makes financial sense to keep him on. That being said, the Aston Martin team are set to be moving to a Honda engine in 2026, and I'm pretty sure they are going to be pushing for a young driver that'll actually have skill. The confirmation that we have this week is that Nico Hulkenberg will be moving to Sauber. The move was confirmed this past week moments after the driver announced that he will be leaving Haas. Keep in mind that Audi is going to be taking full control of Sauber before their entry into Formula 1 in 2026, and Hulkenberg is also German. Coincidence? I think not. With the confirmations out of the way, let's move on to the real fun stuff. Where the hell are the other drivers going? First up, let's get to Max Verstappen's current teammate, Sergio Perez. Perez, who's had a rather disappointing performance in recent weeks, is out of contract at the end of 2024, and I highly doubt that Red Bull are going to be re-signing the Mexican anytime soon. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Perez has a very fast car, but does not have the proper skill to be racing the car at its full potential. I say Perez is eyeing a move to Mercedes to try and fill the shoes that Hamilton is leaving behind, and I support that and think that might do quite well next to Russell. The next person to talk about is someone who is being talked about quite a bit these days by a number of F1 fans, if not all, Carlos Sainz. The Spaniard is, according to me, one of the most skilled drivers on the current field, who was, in a very dumb move, let go by Ferrari. I foresee a move for Sainz to either Sauber or Red Bull, which may shake things up rather nicely. My initial thoughts were that a move to Sauber would tie in nicely with the arrival of Audi in 2026, but with the signing of Hulkenberg, I'm not entirely sure that this move might happen. I'm not entirely ruling it out just yet, but I don't see Sainz racing next to Hulkenberg in the near future. Red Bull, on the other hand, would want to have a second driver that can make full use of their car's potential, and with the scare that Max may well leave the team, they might as well prepare for the worst. And next, we have the Alpine team. I potentially see Esteban Ocon staying with Alpine for another 2 or 3 years. Don't expect an explanation, I just think it's going to happen. Pierre Gasly, on the other hand, I feel like Alpine would let him go, despite talks about his contract that might be renewed. Between Ocon and Gasly, they both don't have points on the board yet, and if Alpine decides to keep the duo, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. The team also has the option of Jack Doohan, who is their current reserve driver. Moving on to Sauber now, they have one space remaining, and I have to say, after the Hulkenberg move, I don't really know who they might want. The rumor mill places Sainz at the team, but as I've already said, I think Red Bull is more likely for Sainz. I had a thought for a moment that the team may push for someone like Ollie Behrman, but I think Audi already had a plan before Behrman made his debut this year, which was spectacular if I may add. So that leaves me to think that the team is going to retain Zhou Guanyu. I say this because Zhou had massive support from the fans at his home race in China, and for Audi to come in and retain that support means a lot more money from merch sales. And I mean, we all know Formula One's more about money than anything else for the teams. Zhou isn't a bad driver either. He has a lot of potential, and with a decent car, I think he would do pretty well, despite rumors that he may not have a place on the grid for next year. Let's look at Haas for a second. With Hulkenberg gone, that leaves them with the option of keeping Kevin Magnussen or going for 2 entirely new drivers. I'm betting on Haas going for a full reshuffle on their team. There's a big chance that Ollie Behrman is in for a deal that would have him enter Formula 1 in red and white. The other driver that may join Behrman, should he make the move, is potentially Valtteri Bottas or Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo hasn't had the best of seasons with VCARB, but we can say the same for Bottas, so the move is fully open for either of them. Now, onto VCARB, Red Bull's second team. Yuki Tsunoda may just retain his seat with the team, while his teammate Daniel Ricciardo may be leaving the outfit. Ricciardo has had a rather lackluster performance over the past few weeks, and I think the team may bring in Liam Lawson as a full-time driver to replace him. Lawson is currently a reserve driver for both the Red Bull teams, so the move wouldn't be entirely far-fetched. And I mean, what's replacing an Australian with a New Zealander gonna do? Not much, I think. Mercedes is our next topic. I know I said Perez may be eyeing a move to Mercedes, but there's also a chance that this may not happen, and Mick Schumacher, who is one of the reserve drivers for the team, may make his return to the F1 grid. This doesn't mean that Mercedes are limited to these two options though. Another driver who has become a talking point is Kimi Antonelli, who could potentially be setting up a starting place for himself with the team. But rumors are that Mercedes may just loan the driver to Williams for a season for a bit more experience before throwing him into the deep end. Now, let's move on to our last team. For Williams, I believe that the team may keep Alex Albon, who clearly seemed to be the team's preferred driver. I mean, they literally took Sargent's car off the grid and gave Albon the car after the damage that Albon did to his own chassis. Now, Sargent probably won't see a place at any team if I call this correctly. Sargent has been costing the team more money than anything else, and rumors have it that he may just be dropped before next week's race. This leaves room for Antonelli to be loaned to Williams for the remainder of the season while they look for a new driver for next year unless Antonelli is going to take that place. This could mean that Ricardo may also be a candidate for Williams for next year. That's it for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for listening to the Lavesh Show.